We have a lot of weird things that are happening in League that don't, and they're not bad necessarily, they just don't happen in other parts of esports because League, I would say the LCS is the closest approximation to a traditional sports league that we have around the world in the world of esports. You just had a situation where Team Energy came in and bought out an LCS spot in North America. They bought out a spot from Coast. Coast qualified, and now they're Energy. They lost 4 of their players. Now they've only got Conquo on there. That's it! And they're basically in breach of LCS rules, which state that you have to have 3/5 of the players on your roster on the day one, on your first match of LCS that you did when you qualified from Challenger. So this kind of begs the question to me, who owns LCS slots? Who owns a team's position? Is it team ownership? Is it the players who qualify themselves? There's a lot of unanswered questions there.
Well, it's a really interesting situation, especially as Doa brought up before the show when we were just chatting outside. These players, I mean, if they were truly at the level of that these team ownerships were expecting, they would still be on the team. I'm sure Eric can sort of expand on that a little bit more.
I mean, it sounds harsh, right? When these guys work so hard to get into the LCS, the team gets bought out and they immediately get kicked. And you know, maybe there's something that can be done there, but at the end of the day, I think the best way to protect yourself as a player is to be a good player. And there's been a lot of questions about NA and EU over the years, and not just League of Legends, but other esports, about the work ethic of these players. I think the results have shown that, you know, either the work ethic isn't there, you know, people have said it's infrastructure in the past, yet we see a lot of teams in North America kind of reaching a certain level of infrastructure that we have in Korea. Not to mention, we had the Ku Tigers earlier in Korea that basically were just 5 guys that played together and had a coach. They had none of that big company infrastructure behind them, and they ended up second place at Worlds too. So I think as far as that goes, it seems harsh, and it's tough for those guys, but the best protection is to just be good, you know?
See, I actually totally agree with you, but I'll say that there's a lot of confusion right now, and I'll actually blame Riot a little bit for that because of lack of communication and just standardization, in my opinion. I think it would have been fine had the expectation been set beforehand that we have franchises, we have teams that are supposed to be built into the organization in some capacity. What they do with their rosters is not our concern, or whatever the case is, but there just wasn't a lot of that at the outset. I think these are just growing pains as Riot kind of encounters situations one at a time that other sports leagues have already had to deal with. At least that's what it feels like to me.
Well, definitely. It's still a new industry. I mean, as far as like the Western involvement in esports at like the level we're seeing it at now, it hasn't even been 10 years yet. You know, I mean, obviously there's been Western esports tournaments longer than that, but we're talking like big business esports tournaments. It's still a pretty young industry. So there's going to be those issues. I mean, it's situations like this that you know, make like the NFL and the NBA have like locked team spots, right, or organization spots. You don't see new teams coming and going from the NFL, right? And it's because of this. So I know Riot and other organizations around the world, I'm sure they've talked about it in China, in Korea, about, you know, do we lock these spots? Because on the one hand, esports organizations are extremely volatile. They come and go very, very quickly. So if you lock that spot and suddenly a team collapses completely, well, what do you do then? Then you have to have another tournament to get someone in, and they're sort of, are they permanent when this other team was really close in that thing? So, but if you don't, then you have this situation. So it's a tough question. I mean, I'd like to see organizations, I'd like to see tournaments with locked organization slots, but I don't know if we're quite in the position where we can do that right now.